It has come to my attention that this podcast is really to bring joy and awareness back into our journeys of change, progress, and success. It's really so much more than just here's a few tips and, tricks to help you get the goal or achieve the goal that you want. It's really about relationships. It's about relationship to yourself and relationship to others on your journey to freedom and fulfillment. So I hope you love it. I hope you enjoy. If you do get value from these episodes, I'd absolutely love it if you hit follow, as this enables us to bring more and more amazing guests onto the podcast. And remember, no matter what challenges you're facing, no matter how lost, stuck, behind, or frustrated you might feel in your life, there's always a bigger plan, God's plan. And if you trust that and commit to riding the waves of life with grace and courage, you're closer than you think. Today's guest is a feminine embodiment mentor, an author, a mother of 6, an energy healer, and an artist. She calls herself the Soul Whisperer and helps women come home to their bodies and the truth of who they are. She's trauma-informed, and all of her work is designed to bring out your soul whispers. She's produced and sold energy artworks and oracle decks all over the globe and has supported hundreds of women in sacred experiences, from sister circles to priestess retreats to online mentorship journeys, and helps them open up to their inner love stories by reminding them of their gift of humanity and the sacredness of their divinity. Right. Hello, Genevieve. Welcome to the Closer Than You Think podcast. I'm super excited to be interviewing you today because I really love that you focus a lot on feminine embodiment. And I think that, even as an entrepreneur, I've had my own journey with the feminine and my feminine energy and my feminine power. And I really feel like I'm at a place in my life where I'm very balanced now. There's always, optimization that can happen, but I do feel like I'm at a place where I'm pretty balanced. But I think as women, it's always something that we can come back to. And also, it's so much of who we are. But I'd love to, before we get into all your amazing work, I'd love to just hear a little bit about your story, where you're from, how you got into this work. Just so the audience can get to know you a little bit.
Hi, Tanya. So thank you for inviting me to be here. So my story, I suppose, really, if I was to be honest, the reason I'm in feminine embodiment work is because I'm somebody that experienced a lot of sexual trauma as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And if we fast forward to when I was older.
Sorry, you did?
Yes, I did personally.
Okay.
Yeah. So I experienced a lot of sexual abuse as a young girl, just very young child, right through to my teenage years. And this led to a very kind of I suppose, disruptive teenage time and young, as I came into my maiden years and into a young woman, there was a lot of kind of disruption and self-loathing and an inability to kind of hold my own body safely.
Mm-hmm.
And as I moved into adulthood, I had an experience around 2009 where a little girl came into my experience, and I was trying to help this young girl. I was trying to help her. And I couldn't, there was no matter which channel or no matter which authority or no matter who I went to help this young woman, this young girl, I couldn't help her. And that put me into my own story, my own trauma, my own space. And then I had a moment of awakening. In that moment, I moved house and I had a moment with the archangels, and it was a very spiritual moment. It was a very, I would say, the heart opened in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I was aware there was so much more to us than we've been led to believe. And that opened up a whole new life path for me personally. It changed my entire direction. I was a teacher until that point. And the next thing I know, I started to concentrate on my art. I started to open up to my healing gifts. And fast forward a couple of years, and I had a Kundalini awakening that opened up my sexual life force, my creative life force in a bigger way, a different way. And this led to me understanding that our womb, the belly, the feminine body holds a language that we don't have words for.
Yes.
We just do not have words for it. And when I started to discover that for myself and really embody that for myself, I started to feel compelled to bring women into that, to bring them into that space with me. And it was through spoken word and movement, breath, just all of that.
Yes.
And just recognizing and realizing that there was something that lived inside of us that really wanted met. I call it a return to innocence in lots of ways, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so this helps women just come home to themselves, to their bodies, to their heart. Something lives inside of us that's down rather than up, if that makes sense.
Yes, 100%.
Mm.
I think especially in the spiritual space, like focusing on being grounded first more than anything, especially as women, is really important. And I think that is lacking a little bit. So it's really important work. And I mean, I'd just love to know a little bit more about, so did you know that little girl?
I knew that little girl. She came into my awareness through my daughter.
Yeah.
She shared something with my daughter, and then that's how that came about.
And so you kind of went into like protector, like mother mode.
Yeah,
like,
and mother, into mother, and just like speaking for her, speaking for her. But it didn't matter how much she was spoken for. I wasn't able to keep her safe, and that was just the way it was. And that was really hard for me because it was
it took you
heartbreaking.
back to your own childhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And I suppose I had to let it go. It was a big moment. It was a really big moment. And I had to let it go.
It's interesting that you said. I've just been recently having like a journey with my own abandonment wounds, which is obviously a bit different, but I come to this conclusion, like, and it's like, I know we hear these things and like we know these things, but until we actually live it, it's a whole other embodiment. But it's this notion of like, no one else can really save us except ourselves. And even when you talk about that story about that little girl, I mean, it's so heartbreaking, and no child should have to rescue themselves, honestly. So the fact, but it's like, maybe, on your own personal journey as like a, I don't know, aha moment or something, it's like, we can only really save ourselves. And waking up to that, for me, it's kind of like, it's a big kind of slap in the face, because you're just like,
it can be,
but it's
because
empowering too, but it's also empowering on the other side too. It's about our perspective.
It is definitely empowering, and it's just that recognition, like, where we suddenly become radically responsible for our journey. We suddenly realize that we may have experienced a trauma, or a small trauma, or a big trauma, or hardships, or just like things that put us in a place where we suddenly recognize we were abandoned or rejected or whatever it might be. And suddenly we are left with this space in between where we can make a choice and a decision about what we want to do with that. And that's when it becomes kind of that dance between our humanity and our divinity, where we can kind of come back into the heart and recognize that there's so much more being brought to us. And that's when we feel the real empowerment, then I feel,
that's amazing. I love the dance between our humanity and our divinity. So when did you know that you wanted to be like an embodiment teacher? Like you felt like that was your calling, that was your path, and did you pivot along the way, or has it always just kind of, you've just known that? Because with my own journey, like I moved cities about 3 years ago. I lived in a kind of in a beach town, but it's quite a big city. I mean, it's about 1 million people. So, but now I live in a very small country town, and I didn't realize actually how unembodied I was until I moved here. Because there was a lot of stillness, a lot of peace. It was just very different. And I will say the first 6 months was extremely hard. Was really hard, but I'm lucky I have a really loving, supportive partner. And that's when I really found embodiment work. And I really started to work with my body in a whole different way, like really, really different way. I didn't realize I was very much disassociated from my body before that, and using things as coping mechanisms. And anyway, and I found embodiment work, and it's been a game changer. Like it's really, it doesn't substitute for doing the actual work, like even the belief work and even healing the past. It's not a substitute for it, but it's definitely the thing that will make that work so much more tangible in the real world, right? Because like even before my embodiment work, and coming here and like reassociating with my body in a sense, I was doing a lot of the work, and I was, in therapy, and I was doing all this stuff, and it had small effects. It definitely did. It had huge progress. But then when I really started to do the embodiment work, it was just like, boom, like I felt like a new person almost. Like, it was just a really big transformation. And so, I'd just love to know, like, how did you find that was your path, or were there, points along the journey?
Honestly, what I bring now to the world was it's never been a conscious, this is what I'm going to be. It has been, and it has evolved through my own path of remembrance. It has literally just evolved from deep within my heart, within my belly, within my womb, within my body. And that started to really stir awake in that moment in 2009, when I started to realize that we had the capacity to heal energetically through using our own hands, for starters, by laying our hands on our bodies. Through the guidance from the angelic realm, I have to acknowledge them. They were the ones that opened me up from soul memories and past life memories, from priestessing, anointing the feminine, anointing the masculine, rituals of devotion, all of that energy. And really, it was 2011 when it really started to move for me. I was all up here to begin with. I was all up in the mind. I was all up in the higher. I wanted to ascend the higher consciousness. I was using, it was all up here in the higher chakra. And then it was like suddenly I was brought down, 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 and I was like, no, it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. And I honestly feel that no matter if we are on a real genuine path of remembrance, and where we're genuinely evolving in our consciousness, this is a piece and a part that cannot be avoided. It will come, and it will reach you, and it will call to you, and you will feel it, and you will find your way into it.
I will say it's true, because when I was disassociated from my body, actually being present was like, I did yoga and I did, workouts and that, but it was very performative. It wasn't to be embodied and to really be present and to really, like it was still, there was still this element of performance in it. And and that's the thing. And it doesn't have the same effect. And I will say, I would have avoided it unconsciously at all costs, because it was just way too scary to be in your body if you've never felt safe in your body. And so facilitators like yourself, and people who can help women be embodied, is really important at the start of the journey. Like eventually you get to a place where you really just, you love doing it even on your own. But facilitation is always just so, so important, especially at the start, to feel safe in your own body. And that's really missing. It's really missing in the world.
Safety, you've hit on something there. It's the safety aspect. It's the most important part.
Yeah.
It's the most important part. If we don't feel safe with who we're with, if we don't feel safe
Yeah.
with ourselves,
Yeah.
then it's a very difficult thing to do.
Yes.
And we do need facilitation. We need facilitation for so many areas in our development and growth.
Yes.
Um, and we can do so much by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But we do need holding. We do need people that can reflect back and mirror back and hold
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. This is where and yeah, the divine
Yeah,
feminine and like,
yeah,
and I guess people who have been on the journey, like on a healing journey, and who really who have healed in a lot of ways and who are embodied in a lot of ways is really important, because I've actually had friends tell me that they've been to like spiritual events or sister circles or certain things like and they're just like, I would never go back. Like it was so
yeah,
cringeworthy, or it just felt really not safe. Because again, there's this performance
yeah,
aspect
yeah,
around it,
yeah,
or it's
yeah.
just yeah. And so that's a shame, because the people
It
who
is.
attend
Yeah,
those things generally are looking for some kind of healing, connection, guidance, nurturing,
yeah,
protection.
yeah.
And like a lot
Protection.
of yeah, and a lot of those places aren't. And so I think as you know, yeah, a healer and a teacher yourself,
Yeah,
have you found, because I think, yeah, I think having them in person and then marketing yourself online is a whole other thing, because there's this trust factor that
yeah,
people, yeah,
yeah.
that people, the trust factor is the biggest part.
It
um
is. Yeah.
so yeah, I guess what would be a thing to like, how do you think women can find places or people that they trust? Well, this podcast is a great place to
Yeah.
start, I guess, by even
Yeah.
learning
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any ideas on like that, on how people can find trust or and feel open and safe?
But honestly, how I feel that people find trust, because a lot of times we don't trust ourselves to begin with, right? So it's important that you've learned to build a relationship with somebody. It's really, really important, especially if that person is online. I have zero issue with somebody arriving in to say my messenger or something like that,
Mm.
asking me a million and one questions. When that person's asking me those questions, that person is interested. That person is seeking connection. That person's seeking to know, are you my safe person? Are you the person I can trust with this part of myself? We
Mm.
have to remember, a lot of us, particularly women, our bodies have been predated upon, taken from, used in ways that haven't always held us safely. So we are starting to learn and discover that a lot of women don't even know what they actually enjoy in their own body, because they're still in the performance stage.
Yes.
And the minute we drop the performance, we suddenly are not as pretty or palatable or TV worthy, maybe. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's messier than that. It's more real than that. It's more
Yeah.
raw than that. The sounds our body might want to make through the throat, the way our body might want to move and lead us into,
Yeah.
may not in the mind be something that looks the way we imagine. And
Yes.
so we need to know that the person's going to hold us in a place of compassion. I always start with compassion, safety first,
Mm.
compassion next, acceptance next. Um, and there's gentle ways that a person, for me, for example, say a woman was deciding to work with me,
Mm-hmm.
and say she's reached out, and then I've sent her, just say, an experience that she can move into with me, be that online or in person, say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I ask that woman to sit with herself for maybe 3 days, a week, or however long it takes her. I say, put your hand on your heart and your hand on your womb as you go to bed at night, and genuinely feel into your body. If your body feels safe to even the sound of my name, if
Mm.
your body feels safe even to the sound of my voice in this voice note, if your body will tell you. And if it's a no right now, honor your no.
Yeah.
If it's a
That's
maybe,
beautiful.
it's a no.
Yeah.
Like if it's a maybe, it's still a no. Honor that maybe for a while longer.
Yeah.
You will
I
feel
think so
it.
many healers and
Yes.
teachers need to hear this, because I mean, the narrative that's pushed online is so opposite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you're not
Yeah.
making decisions fast, I guess that is more the business coaching world. But I think even in the spiritual self-help
Yeah.
space and just
Yeah.
yeah, and making sure you're making those decisions from from a place of trust and safety.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of working with someone, because I've made investments that were not good for me. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And we
yeah,
make mistakes, and we learn from them.
yeah.
And sometimes we find a person, sometimes the shinier the object, the glossier the object, the less,
I know.
sometimes
Yeah,
I'm just being very honest. I'm not very
for sure.
brandy necessarily, but the people
Yeah.
that find me, they find me when they need me,
Yes. Yes.
and
Well, I find the best healers aren't
yeah,
very brandy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like this, it's like people arrive in and they're going, I didn't even know I needed you
Yeah.
until I did.
Yeah.
That kind of place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and I just always set the hard intention that let the right people find me when they need this medicine.
Mm.
I don't have words for the medicine I bring, and
Yeah.
that makes it difficult for me to
Yeah.
sell it, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So I rely on people really dropping in and feeling if their heart's a yes, their body's a yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, tell us a little bit more about, um, about the work that you do with women, and the value and the results that they can see from doing this work. Because I think one of the things with embodiment work is like people just want to bypass it, they want to skip it, or they just don't think it's important because what's the value? Why is it important for me to do that when, I could be doing a million other things?
Yeah.
I think, and then there's the avoidance piece that we're not even aware of. Like, yeah, can you speak into a little bit about that, about the value of it, and yeah, and the work that you do with women?
Well, the value of this is that if you're feeling numb, disassociated, disconnected, maybe you feel shame through a desire, maybe
Mm,
you
that's
haven't
a
been
big
sure
one.
how to
That's a big
access a
one.
certain, level of pleasure. Maybe you struggle to care and nourish yourself. Maybe you struggle to slow down. Maybe you make all the money, but there's something that just is lost in there that doesn't feel quite right. I'm not going to make you a millionaire. I'm not one of those coaches.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make you feel content. Like you're going to feel content. You're
Yeah.
going to feel confident. Your esteem's going to skyrocket. Your ability to tune into your body and know what she wants when she wants it is
Yeah.
going to be
The word that's
there.
coming to me is alignment,
Yeah.
because the word that's coming to me is alignment. Like, I mean, there's so
Mm.
many other things, there's so many other benefits, but like if you're not embodied, it's almost impossible to feel aligned in your life, to feel like
Even
you're on the right
alive.
track. Yeah, and
Just
that and
fully alive, like,
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, fully alive. And
Yeah.
and
Present.
and how you said, yeah, the shame about the desire, like, wow, that's big for women. That was
It's
huge
huge.
when I left my corporate job. um it was very unconscious, but it's like I knew it. It's just there wasn't really anyone to reflect it back to me. But I had so much shame around my desires because I
Yeah.
was already successful in the eyes of society, but
Yeah. Yes.
I wanted
Yeah.
more, but I will say it's not more. I wanted something different to what I was experiencing. I still felt very limited. I still felt it was a very an internal thing, but oppressed, very
Yeah.
just limited in my life. And it's like it wasn't about having more things, like accumulating more things.
Yeah.
It was more
Yeah.
about the liberation. And I really was searching for that in all the wrong places. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, the embodiment piece is a huge part of my liberation, like and how I feel
Yeah.
in my own
I
self and
love that you
body
said that word
today.
liberation there. I'm just going to get this up here. And there
Yeah.
was a woman I was working with there the other night, and this woman, so she's older and she's incredible, like, but she's arrived in and to the space with me. And we were in this place where we were dropping into her body. She's felt really disconnected recently, and she hasn't been able to, find what it is. And so we dropped in, and then we were moving into her womb and just different places and spaces. And she was able to receive information from her body. Her body was speaking to her, and it was about liberation and freedom, and we were able to kind of move that into the body. And that's what the heaviness, the disconnection, the place where she was feeling a bit numb, and that's what it was seeking to bring her, was that liberation and freedom, to be able to freely move and take up space and speak her truth.
Take up
Take
space.
up space. Take up as much space as you want. Like
I
when women come
know.
and work with me, they're often women that might take up space in a huge other area of their lives, but for themselves, maybe don't necessarily.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I want you to take up space here with me. I want you to drop me a voice note about what's moving through. I want you to ask for what it is you need. I want you, and I'm like encouraging this constant place where they can really
liberation.
expansion, liberation, freedom.
Yeah, because I think as a society,
joy.
and what's marketed to us as women is that those external things are the things that are going to give us that liberation, and money is a big one.
Money is a big one, and it's a big
Especially if you don't
distractor
have
as
it.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, we really, really think that it's going to, and look, I don't ever want to discount it. Like it's,
No, it's incredible.
it creates, opportunities and amazing things, but
absolutely,
it should never be the focus. It should be the byproduct, unless you're an actual financial teacher, like the byproduct of your own personal true self-expression, liberation, taking up space, expanding, progressing in life, being open and available to change, expressing, going after your desires, pursuing your desires, like all these things that really are very suppressed in women. And I know I've experienced it in my own journey, and I was already in quite a successful career. And and I just contorted myself into the smallest possible version of myself. And so, I really feel that. And
I feel women are seeking depth, aren't they now? They're seeking depth.
Yeah.
They're seeking something that's a bit more gritty and real. And,
just grounded and wholesome and true.
That nourishes them.
Authentic.
Really, truly nourishes authentic, real. And when we don't have that, we're looking for it. And we're looking for it in our relationships, not just to ourselves, but our lovers, our husbands, partners, beloveds, whoever, our family, our children, whatever, our work, colleagues, all of it,
So how has this work impacted your life personally?
Personally, gosh, it's just opened up my whole body. I was deeply ashamed of my pleasure. I was deeply ashamed to receive. I could give, no problem.
The overgiving.
But I was deeply, deeply ashamed to receive, or even ask for what I wanted or needed. And it just opens up my whole body. Like my whole body is what I've discovered is
I think that's a real sign of trauma right there. I felt that too. And I think that's one of the key signs, actually, the overgiving and the inability to receive and ask for what you need. Like that inability is a huge sign that there's something, because it comes from childhood. And
absolutely.
I don't think we're ever going to get all of our needs met all of the time at the time that we want it.
No.
But it's like there should never be a problem to ask for what you need. And if there is, then that's another sign that you need to look at, who are you asking it from, and why is it a problem?
Yeah, absolutely. And just even opening up that energy that is very, like, it's orgasmic, but it's not sexual. It's like, it's something else, and it just moves.
The energy of creation. It's the energy of creation.
And it's so beautiful, and just open, I call it erotic innocence, you know, because
Yeah,
that's what it
I love
is.
that. I love
And it's just so beautiful that we can access that.
that.
And it's so sad that so many of us actually don't access it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, because
And
there's
for
so
me,
much
I'm like, I
shame.
want to just go around and turn everybody on, like, but not in the way that this world thinks turn on is. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
I
there's
don't
so
think.
much shame around sex in general.
Mm,
And actually, it's really hard for, anybody, especially a woman, to create something in her life if she's really disconnected from her sexual energy.
it is. Yeah. She withers and she becomes resentful and
Yeah.
bitter. It's all right in there in the yoni.
Mm.
Like she has a whole map in there that
Yeah.
we have access to that helps us open up in
Yeah.
that way and recognize what we're holding and where we're holding it and why we're holding it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, another thing that comes up for me with this piece is that I grew up in a really religious household. And so
Mm-hmm.
even anything to do with sex, um, you know, anything outside of the Catholic religion was just seen as
Yeah.
bad, dark, evil,
Yeah.
whatever. Like it was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
that chronic.
Yeah.
And so even opening up to that was hard. And
Yeah.
I will say that, and I didn't know the value of it. I didn't know
Yeah.
why I should, you know, focus on embodiment and healing and all of these things. And so I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for online educators because I learned a
Yeah.
lot of the things that I did by researching and learning what I know through
Yeah.
even social media and Google and
Yeah.
places like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm super grateful for
Yeah.
and
There's so
created.
much there now.
Yeah, and yeah.
Mm.
So so that's a huge piece. I think it's all connected. I mean, all of it, like
Yes.
religion, the femininity just in general. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and reclaiming that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's a constant reclamation.
yeah.
This journey, this path, if you've been awakened at all, if you've been stirred awake and your heart is opening,
Mm,
then you're on a path of remembrance. And it is going to take you through the psychological stuff. It's going to take you through the heady stuff, the
mm,
mind. It's going to drop you into the heart. It's going to heal all of the grief and the betrayals and all of those wounds. It's going to drop you deeper into the
yeah.
body, into the womb. And so that you can, there's no point in all of this if we're taking it up there somewhere. The whole point is that we bring it down and descend it and
Yes.
walk it into the earth plane. You know, that
Yes.
is the point. You know, we become a divine, holy being in human, like a divine human,
Yeah.
by opening and receiving and embodying all of it
Yeah.
together. And you're right, that piece, I was Catholic, brought up Catholic as well, and I was no
Mhm.
small Irish. I'm from Ireland,
Okay.
Catholic, convent school, do you know, all of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, do you know?
Yeah.
And my father wasn't religious, so I had another perspective in the home.
Um,
Mommy was religious, but she wasn't strict with her religion, but it was there.
yeah.
And then it was, the exposure in school and different places because there was other people that were coming in with
Mm.
that kind of, and so you've all of that, all of those layers, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The process of so
It's
the process of
yeah.
socialization and
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Mm.
it does it hinders more than it opens, like it hinders us, and it also helps us kind of, we don't get the freedom to choose as children, like to let our curiosities lead us. Like I home educate I have 6 children, and I home
Oh,
educate like four, three
amazing.
of them now actually, but they have the freedom
You
to
homeschool
choose.
them? Is that
Yeah.
oh amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have the freedom to choose and to be curious and to
Mm.
let themselves lead themselves. And it's a very different approach to parenting. And some people freak out like at the thought of allowing a child so much and no autonomy. But we're teaching children, you need to know, you need to keep yourself safe, say on one hand, there's this world of saying we need to keep our children safe. And then on the other hand, we're stripping them of their autonomy, their right to know, their right to yes, their
Yes.
right to consent.
Yes.
And then we wonder why they're reaching a certain stage in their development and they don't know what consent is, and they're jumping into maybe sexual relations too early, or they're being exposed to environments that are not safe for them. And it's such a complex place, and it's a minefield. But we cannot create safety on our planet if we cannot allow the little people to have the right to their own autonomy, and that means we have to unpick all of the ways we want to control, that we want to assert and project our authority onto, So it's like we're in this dance right now as a humanity together.
Yes.
I think anyway.
100%. I think parents have one of the most important roles right now with raising children.
Yeah.
I mean, always.
Always.
But
I
think
now.
because of the consciousness shifts that are happening, it's like even bigger, and so many more people I hear are homeschooling, and I want to homeschool my children too.
Yeah.
So there's many, there's just many shifts happening, and people are waking up slowly.
Yeah. They are. And I feel for the whole waking up thing, we can't all wake up at the same time.
No. Yeah.
If we were all to wake up at the same time, the world would freak out, right?
Exactly.
So it comes in waves.
Yeah.
And then there's a new wave of people that are there to support. And then the people that have been supporting get to rest while the other wave supports the ones waking up. Because
there's
that's
harmony.
the way of it's harmony, it's balance, it's evolution, it's consciousness and action. It's all beautiful,
Yeah, totally. So I guess how so I mean, you have 6 children. That's amazing.
I do. Thank you.
And
it is amazing.
yeah. And you run this business. So how do you balance it all? Like, how do you balance it all, and caring for yourself and caring for others and all of that?
I have to make myself a priority is how I balance it. I have to, it's been a learning curve. It's been a journey of recognizing where the challenges are, and it's been a journey of leaning in and asking for support when needed. It's been a journey of discovering, how do we want to do life? How do we want to do life? So conversations with my husband, how do we want to do this life? And we've spent the last, I would say, maybe 5 years really dismantling so much of what life was and reconfiguring it to a point where we both have a lot of freedom now to choose how we do this life. And it's like we're sort of looking, and there was a moment of separation in that for us both to, and we're together 21 years. There was a moment of separation where we kind of held space for each other to figure out, well, how do we do this life that we're rejigging together and still hold each other and these children and all of this,
That's amazing. I just want to say congratulations. Congratulations for being married for so long and 6 beautiful children and but I know it's not easy.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not easy. And I think that's one of the things that people need to get comfortable and easy with understanding is life is going to challenge you. Life isn't going to be easy, but you can create ease.
Yes.
You can. And
I think that's a really important point, because it's really about who you keep in your life.
Yeah.
Like, are they supporting you, or are they hindering your progress, or just even if you're not into progress, like, are they hindering your healing or whatever it is? Like, it's really that. It's who you keep around you that creates that environment of ease and safety and all of those things that you spoke about.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that changed the game for me, was when I really started to reevaluate relationships in my life. And and it kind of just happens organically, though. It's not like you wake up one day and you're like, okay, this is
not working or
Yeah.
whatever. It's just, it happens
Yeah.
organically as,
As we grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we move about, or if we, shift environments as well, like
You
I
know what?
find
I don't even know.
yeah.
I don't even like using that word anymore, like grow. I've heard,
Yeah.
because the reason is because I think there's this unconscious, I get the idea of it, but there's this unconscious idea that if I'm growing, I'm better than, or if I'm
I
growing,
love the idea. Yeah.
yeah, if I'm growing, then I'm bigger than, better than, I don't know, like something like
Yeah,
that.
I hear you. I do
And
hear
I know
you in
it's
that.
used in a, I know it's
Yeah.
used in a
Yeah.
very good, it's meant to be used in an intentionally positive
Yeah.
way. Because my mum always used
Yeah.
to say to me, like, oh, you're growing or something.
Yeah.
Um, but only, this is the thing, but only when it didn't direct, like, so say something was going on in my life and it was really chaotic, and I
Yeah.
was dealing with, like, I don't know, like a relationship breakdown. I had like this big fallout with one of my best friends many years ago, and it was just chaos, and it was like heartbreak and betrayal and all these things. And some of the advice that people gave me was like, oh, you're growing, and
Yeah.
you're just outgrowing people. So, and I'm like, I get that the intent is positive, but I'm like, actually, it didn't actually feel like that. If anything, it felt like I was going backwards. And
Yeah.
I actually just want to, I use now, instead of growth, I use awareness, because my
Yeah.
awareness was deepening. And the more
Yeah.
aware I became of myself, my own needs, my own desires, my own life path, all of the, like, my own standards, expectations, all of
Yeah.
these things that we don't define for ourselves until shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Instead of waiting for that
until
moment.
somebody
Yeah.
doesn't meet an unconscious expectation, and then it ends up in
Yeah.
conflict, and it's like you don't understand why, and then somebody blames you for something that's not even your fault,
Yeah.
and like all of these things. And so, like, just the more aware we become of these things in our
Yeah.
life, I
Yeah.
think that is how you create the life that you really want, really, if we're just
Yeah.
being real,
Yeah.
like,
It is.
and
Of course.
I'm so, yeah, and so I think that I just, because I just want to be really clear, like,
Yeah.
even like for anyone that's listening,
Yeah.
this podcast is like, I want to bring, like, yes, deep conversations, but also
Yeah.
like new perspectives on how we think about things. Like when we say things like growth, which I love, and I'm all for progress. I am very ambitious myself, so I'm all for that, and I have my own battles with impatience and all of these things.
Yeah.
but like, yeah, I think that when we just throw words around, like if I just say, oh yeah, I'm just growing, and like it's very encouraging. Like when my mum used to say that to me, I'm like, yeah, it's encouraging, but it's also a bit of a bypass, because then I wasn't told, I wasn't diving into the fact that, oh well, my ex-best friend was a total covert narc, a covert narcissist, and like there was so much trauma that I had to unravel from all of those years of friendship and the triangulation with her and other girls, and there was so many wounds there. And
Wow.
and I had
Core
to,
sisterhood wounds. It is core sisterhood wounds as well.
yes,
And I'm
yes,
sure now that you're on this side of it, that it has gifted you an awareness of how you
oh,
want to be
oh,
held
it's
in your
changed
feminine
my life.
relationships,
Yes,
in your work, and how you hold possibly your
yeah,
clients, all of it,
yeah.
you
And
know.
I
And
get
I
that,
love what
not
you're
everybody.
saying there,
Mm,
about the growth. I love that.
yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess it's the I guess, yeah, that's why they call it personal development. So it's like, yeah, it is development, but it's almost like, yes, but it's everything that I should have had, from the day I was born. So
Yeah.
it's kind
Yeah.
of
And
like,
again, I love the other thought, and this is something that I bring as well into my own work, is that you're enough,
yeah,
you're enough.
yeah,
I don't want
yes.
to
That's a
fix
huge
you,
one for
Tanya.
women. Unconsciously, we
I
just
don't
don't
want to
feel
fix
enough.
you. I just want to receive you where you are. I just want you to speak and be met. I don't want to offer
I love that you
advice.
brought that up, because what's trending right
Yeah.
now is the Rihanna Super Bowl show. Have you seen it?
Okay, I don't watch the Grammy, Super Bowl, any of it.
Okay,
It's like
no.
all that stuff happens.
Neither
And
do
I'm like,
I just everyone's talking about it.
but
So
I've seen some people talk about it, all right. But
yeah, I just
you know,
YouTubed her performance, and I was like,
yeah,
it really
yeah.
was the symbolic kind of thing of I am enough. And I think
Mm,
it was so powerful, because unconsciously women don't feel enough. And so when she performed in the way that she did, it was just
yeah,
like, I'm enough as I am, and I don't need to overdo it. And it was just,
yeah.
it was like, yeah, like hats off.
Yeah, I didn't even, I have no idea about it, but yeah, that part and that piece of women just being enough is really important.
Yeah.
And our men are enough too, like just letting
Yeah.
our men know it's safe for you to just relax into your enoughness right now. You're
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
I don't need you to perform for me. I don't need you to do X, Y, and Z
Yeah.
right now. I just need presence here. Do you
Yeah.
know? So just calling each other, our
Mm.
lives and those around us,
Yeah.
just into more presence and awareness, as you say, you know. And in doing that, I feel we open up channels of love and just acceptance and compassion for one another, truly.
Mm.
And we meet the people around us with more compassion, more, genuine acceptance for this is who this person is. And it's
Yeah.
okay for me to not want this person in my life
Yeah.
and for me to move on.
Yeah.
Or this is who this person is, and I really want that person in my life,
Yeah. 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 And it's just so unconscious, because even on my own entrepreneurial journey, and even to starting this podcast, like there was so
Yeah.
many, this brings me to the topic that I actually want to talk about, is perfectionism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this held me back hugely. And the embodiment piece was a huge part of breaking the perfectionism kind of
Yeah.
veil
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
conditioning or whatever it was. And even in that, even though I had such perfectionistic tendencies, I felt so not enough. So it was like this never-ending cycle of just self-criticism and, not being enough. And I know where it comes from.
Yeah.
And I just attracted people into my life who were trying to fulfill their own fantasies through me.
Yeah.
And so and so it's like,
Yeah.
it really, like, the law of mirroring is really real. Like, so I knew if I didn't break through that, I'm always going to be in somebody else's movie in some way, like not really living my own life.
Yes.
Because that is such a veil. And and the not enough piece, like I find myself waking up now and almost like just automatically reminding myself that I'm enough, and like whatever I do today is enough. And I
Yes.
never used to do that before. I was really in this
That's so
pattern
powerful.
of like, what can I do to feel enough today?
Mm-hmm. And you probably, because I know most of us, and probably people listening, the women listening to this podcast, will recognize that part of them that burnt out in trying to be enough. Left themselves exhausted and trying to be enough for whoever. And so this part that you're talking to and that you come home to, that we do eventually arrive in, is where freedom lives, truly. Because it's like, oh, I'm enough. Actually, I don't need to do X, Y, and Z to be enough. I'm enough right now. I always say love exists because you exist. Do you know what I mean? You're enough because you are, and not, because you're divine and you're human and you're a holy mess and you're bloody sacred, and
But we
everything
have
about
to,
you is enough.
if you have any kind of trauma, that's going to take some time
It takes time. It takes
be,
years.
to really embody.
20
But
years. I am 20 years in this journey. It takes time. Anyone who thinks that this comes in a fast track through a weekend or through a 9-week course or whatever, no, I will never sell you that level of transformation. I will not lie to any human being in that way. This takes time, and it takes many people to support you along the way, both personal and maybe those that you choose to invest in as mentors or coaches. And this idea
I really
that
do wish this
happen.
level of freedom for people, because there is still this very, and it's nothing like I'm very ambitious and I want, I have many desires in my life. But it's like when you're so liberated from the idea of the societal idea of success and all of that. It's just it's a whole not. And actually, for anyone listening, like that was a really big thing. And I said I used to wake up being like, what can I do today to feel enough? To feel, and that enough piece is huge because it ties to your self-worth. It ties to what you believe you deserve, you can have. It ties to self-love. It ties to all these things. So it's like I was waking up being like, what can I do to feel enough? Versus now I wake up, meditate on how I am already enough. And then whatever transpires from that is just extra bonus, whatever. That energy, that difference. So anyone listening, ask yourself that, like, and check in when you wake up, like literally when you wake up, be like, am I operating from what can I do to be enough versus I'm enough and whatever I create or whatever happens transpires from this day is because I'm already enough and anything else is a bonus. And that shift in not just perspective, but energy, like, and embodiment and self-love. It's just like, it's a whole different energy and an attraction point and everything. So anyway, that's amazing. So I'd love to hear your perspective on like perfectionism. Where do you think it comes from? Why do women suffer from it more than men?
Well, I'm not a man, so I can't answer that, right? So I'm just right.
But it really seems like, and I don't know because I only mostly.
But I can answer it from my own perspective. In being a woman, I feel that it stems from this place, this performative place that we have. That if you think back to when we're little girls and we come into a room, it's very rare that a wee boy would walk into a room and you would turn around and say, oh, look at Johnny today. Doesn't he look great? Whereas a wee girl will walk in, oh, look at Lisa today. Isn't she, this or that or the other? And so straight away we're performing to be perfect for whoever's receiving us from very early on in different ways. And so this then builds and builds and builds. And then we move into different areas of our lives. And it stems from this need and desire to be validated from something outside of ourselves as well, rather than inside of ourselves. So we tend to drop the perfectionism when we recognize that I can validate myself in this moment. There's a beautiful practice that you move into where, just say, if perfectionism was an issue for somebody that's listening to this now, I would invite you to go into your body right now, even in this moment, and just close your eyes and see where perfectionism lives in your body. And when you locate it, I would love you to begin a conversation with her. Ask her what she needs to feel safe or to loosen up or to let go or to trust, because it comes from a place of not trusting ourselves as well, not trusting that what we bring is enough, that our expression will be received in the way it's intended. There's so many layers to it. But
again, the self-trust, it comes back to self-trust again. Which
it does.
Which is huge. Like it's really huge. And I remember a coach so long ago. I remember following this coach, and all she talked about was self-trust. And she was really passionate about it. And I really felt it from her. I was like, this lady really trusts herself. And I guess I didn't feel that level of self-trust. And it just, I guess it oozes through as confidence, as confidence, like I fear nothing. That's kind of the vibe. That was like, I fear nothing. And it was really alluring, and it was really powerful. And I guess on my own journey, I've realized, that self-trust piece looks different to everybody and will probably feel different to everybody. But it does come back to the trust and the safety, which I think all comes back, which stems back to childhood and our family dynamics and how we felt. And
absolutely. And it just, if we can start to recognize, even come back into that piece where I am enough and I trust myself to be enough, and I trust what I bring will be enough and be received in the way, you know, that it's meant. Like some of my core ones were more around being misunderstood, say, for example, or being judged or ridiculed. So people's might have been no abandonment or rejection, but you know, like we've all different ones. Was
Yeah.
my core ones were really seeped in that kind of judgment or ridicule or being misunderstood. So when I was stepping out and into sharing more and more of my expression, more and more of my truth, these were the things that would have came up for me.
Yeah.
And so say somebody had have misunderstood what I would have, like I paint as well. So I'm an artist. So say I would have created a painting. And I remember when I first started to share my art, this is a long time ago, so this has come back over 10 years ago, when I really first started to share it, when somebody interpreted it in their way, I used to get really irritated by it. And I used to be like, they completely misunderstood. This is my ego, right? My story. They completely misunderstood that painting. They have not understood what I was trying to share in that. And then that was, but so each painting felt like a soul retrieval for me, because what happened was I would start to learn to trust that I could just paint and be in my process with it, and then let somebody else be in their process with the painting as well, because it was energy art. It was an energy experience and exchange. So that was part of peeling back that wounding for me and allowing myself, it's okay if somebody misunderstands my energy in that space, because I know what I'm in that moment. It's okay if somebody, you know, and then when you're talking about embodiment and feminine embodiment, and it's maybe sexual desire or sexual healing or freedom and things like that, it's a minefield for being misunderstood. People probably think I'm running about in like lace and silk all day long, you know, and I'm like, just, no, I run around in my runners and leggings, my hair in a bun, and I'm
Yeah,
hiking
but I think that's what's
backpacking,
been
you know.
marketed to us. I
It
think
is being
it's been
marketed, and
marketed to us.
I refuse to market it in that way. I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
and I love that
I
about you, and that's really what I love, because
you know,
it can this is
yeah.
actually the reality of it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not.
and I get that people want to market it in a way because we're marketing to people's desires. I understand the business and the strategy
Yeah,
part behind it,
yeah,
but there's this part of me that's like, no, I want the woman and all her realness, you know, and I'm going to
yeah,
keep it real. I'm going to keep it ordinary. I'm going to keep it
yes,
everyday living. This is we can be in this embodiment in every single day
yeah,
moment,
yeah. I have
and we
this
don't,
deep
you
value
know,
that it's like, well, I just and even just as a spiritual guide myself and business coach,
yeah,
like I'm
yeah,
like I don't ever want to have to resort to getting naked to sell my work or my
yeah,
offers. Like
yeah.
I'm all
And I
for the
love
female body.
nakedness.
Don't get me
I
wrong. Like
love
I
nudity. It's
love it. And
beautiful. Yeah.
if you want to show it off, go for it. Like I see women doing it and it's amazing. I just am like, I just don't want to have to do that. If I feel empowered to do that, and one day,
And you
cool,
will.
cool. But
Yeah.
it's like
Listen, yeah.
I don't want to have to resort to that to feel like, again, that conversation of like, am I doing this to be enough, or am I already enough? And this
And
is
I
just
think we
an
can tell
expression of
the
who I am.
difference, you know. I mean, I love it when I see a woman there claiming her body for herself
Yeah.
and sharing her body with us for that reason. You know, I paint a lot of naked bodies, you know, and
Yeah.
I suppose that's my way of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like,
The problem
at
is
the
it's
same,
not usually that. The problem is it's usually
yeah.
used to sell something.
And that's the part where I feel out of sync with
Yeah.
it, and so I
Yeah.
use my words, my spoken word transmission, or my
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
And if you ever join me live, or if you ever speak with me, or ever share space with me, you feel it. You
Yeah.
feel it
Yeah.
without me
Voice
having
is,
to,
yeah.
you know.
Yes.
And that's what feels aligned for me. And
Mm.
I feel and know there is a place for the other expressions in that, do you
Mm.
know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, we also need to see that there's this part and piece of me that kind of goes like, a woman should be able to get naked wherever the hell she wants without it being minimized to just sexual, you know?
Yes. Yes.
It's innocent, it's erotic, it's beautiful, it's sacred, it's a temple, it's
Yeah.
holy, you know?
Yes.
Um, and I believe needs to be revered in that way, and, you know,
Yeah.
honored in that way.
Totally. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Oh, I love it. So I guess yeah, I guess so the last few questions are just questions I ask all my guests.
Yes.
So before I ask the questions, though, where can people find you? Where can they find your work? Where can they find you?
Okay, so the best place to find me is probably, I am an old dinosaur when it comes to technology, so it's probably Facebook. Is the best
Easy
place. I
peasy.
have
Yeah.
a easy peasy. Just look up Genevieve McGuiness
Yeah.
on Facebook. You'll find me. You can look me up on Instagram as well. And sometimes I accidentally post to Instagram when I use my phone, which is a really handy thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of people find me through word of mouth, or just, and I
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
but I would say come join me and have a nosy in my Facebook, jump on, it'll have a nosy in some of my lives. I have a beautiful book that I released last year. So it is, I wonder if I have it handy. I might have a copy. So this is the book here. I don't know if you can get that the right way. So it's Soul Whispers, A Path of Remembrance. It's a really beautiful read. People are getting a lot from
Can you
this.
talk to us a little bit about that, actually?
Well, do you know what? This book has been, it was written and rewritten 3 times. I deleted it,
Beautiful.
and then I just sat down last year and I just wrote it. And it's out there now. It basically, it takes you through my own path of remembrance, it gives you a snippet, like about what is actually happening. So some of the chapters are, I think the most powerful part is the invitation at the beginning. But it's like you've got May You Remember, Art as a Healer. I talk about energy therapy, Wim Whispers, light work, She Whispers. I talk about different practices that you can bring in. This book's very much a beginning for people, and it's also deeper than that. I talk about the shadow, compassion, acceptance, grace, presence, power, all of that feminine leadership, and body and pleasure, body wisdom, our collective consciousness and shifts. There's a lot in this little book.
But really
it's
perfect for the woman who's coming home.
Told from a very personal place. So it's part memoir, for sure. And then there's some transmissions in there that have moved through and been channeled. It's beautiful stuff, but it's there to support you to recognize that part of us that is very, very human, and that part of us that is also so divine, so gorgeous as well. And just, I call it the divine human, holy human. We're just so beautiful in that. It's that dance between our divinity and our humanity.
Yes.
In a book.
I love that. That is really, that is the balance that we're seeking, isn't it? It's like sometimes
I think it's the ultimate dance, if I'm honest. I think that is the ultimate inner union.
Knowing that we are limitless in our potential, but also that we have limitations as human beings.
Yeah.
So
the sacred part, coming from peace there.
I love it. So what's one piece of life advice that if you left the world tomorrow, God forbid, that you would like to leave with people?
I think don't lose your funny bone, right? No, keep a sense of humor.
Don't lose your what?
Your funny bone, your
funny bone, yes.
Yes. So
I love that.
Keep your sense of humor, please, God, keep your humor.
Yeah.
This life gets heavy enough, challenging enough, and especially if you're on this path. Hey,
humor is the healer to shame.
It is, and I love it if people can keep that part and piece on this journey in particular, because it can get very serious very quickly.
Yes.
And we sometimes forget that we can be lightness, and we can be playful, and we can be pleasurable and enjoyable and all of that.
Yeah.
So that would be it. And to remember that, love exists because you exist. It's as simple as that. Like, if I leave this earth knowing that I have opened even one person, which I already have, to the depth of love that I felt in 2009 when I had those experiences with the archangels. If I can bring people to that moment even for a snippet of their time here on earth, then I have lived well, truly, truly well.
Oh, I love that.
Okay,
Okay, and the last question is, if you fill in the blank, you're closer than you think.
if you fill in the blank, closer than you think. If you just believe that you're already closer than you think.
I love it. Almost like a little, yes, I love it. Yes, like you are already enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh,
yeah.
thank you so much, Genevieve, for
Thank you.
your time today, for your wisdom, and for, and sharing your story with us. I really, really think this is going to help so many women. And really support them on their journeys of personal development, growth, love, embodiment. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening. Thank you.